Sens Talk is proud to be powered by Ottawa Interlock Repair for the 2025-26 Sens season. For all your interlock needs, visit interlockrepair.com. Welcome to Sens Talk. My name is Brandon Plant and I am your host. Tonight, your Ottawa Senators return home for the first time in 19 days. Your Ottawa Senators play a game at the Canadian Tire Centre, the most beautiful building in the world. It's great to be finally back. I'm sure for the players, it's even better, of course. It truly affects them, obviously. They get to sleep in their own bed. They get to go back to their normal routine. So it's great to have the team back, albeit for not too long, just for a few games. But again, after the road trip they just went on, a few games is better than no games. So great to have the Sens back here in Ottawa. And again, a hockey game in Ottawa? Who would have thought, right? It's been so long. A couple Lime notes before we get into the game. Firstly, Lars Eller and Artem Zub are day-to-day. Not great news, obviously, specifically with the news regarding Artem Zub. You're already down Tom Chabot. Going down another top four defenseman is not going to help this team, especially as they have had some defensive issues as of late. We'll save that for the game notes. I have a bit to say about that later on. As well, Lars Eller, him being out is not great news. Obviously, you want to have a defensive specialist that wins like the most faceoffs in the league in terms of faceoff percentage, in your lineup. But, this does give an opportunity for a guy like Stephen Halliday to get some more NHL minutes and to make a name for himself at the top level, as he's called up from Belleville to replace Lars Eller. So that is some good news out of bad news, obviously. And lastly, we have an update on Tom Chabot. He'll be out for at least the next 10 days as he re-aggravated that injury a little bit ago after taking that shot. I'm sure you all remember. So still out for another at least week and a half. So that's not great news. Now, in terms of the lineup tonight, the forward core overall looks the same. The defensive pairings are what really changed. Jordan Spence to the top pairing with Jake Sanderson, and Jake the Snake, as we'll talk about in the game notes, has been absolutely electric as of late, especially in the last 5 games. And for Jordan Spence, a guy that had to battle his way into the lineup to get onto the top pair. It's been a whirlwind season for Jordan Spence, but I'm very, very fired up for him to get an opportunity there on that top pairing. And again, it's a reward that he's earned because, again, he's been so good when given the opportunity to play. The third pairing was Nick Jensen and Dennis Gilbert, and I was excited to see Gilbert play tonight, not going to lie. I like what he brings to the game in terms of his sandpaper. He's a real tough SOB, but that third pairing struggled tonight, no doubt about that. We'll talk about that later. Levi Merulainen starts for Ottawa, and Igor Shesterkin starts for the New York Rangers. So let's get to the first period of play, and not even 4 minutes in, 3 minutes into the first period, the Rangers strike first. It's 1-0. Nicholas Manapalo bobbles the puck. Clevin is caught high. The Sens can't recover. Stützle is well out of position. And on a 2-on-1, Zibanejad finishes off the pass from JT Miller, and the Rangers strike first to make it a 1-0 game. The Rangers are 12-2-0 when scoring first. A few minutes later, the Senators hit the post for the first time of many tonight. Drake Batherson, he catches iron. And then, of course, a minute later, as usual, this is how it goes in hockey. One chance one way, a goal the other, and unfortunately goes against for Ottawa as the Rangers strike to make it 2-0. Gavrikov rips it glove side, top shelf essentially, on a great passing sequence by the Rangers. Dennis Gilbert on this goal got beat in the neutral zone. He blew a tire as well. Tkachuk and the Sens couldn't recover. The Rangers pick apart, frankly, the Ottawa Senators, and Gavrikov finishes it off to give the Rangers a 2-goal lead on just 3 shots to start the game. Not great at all. And again, look, it's not all on the defense. It's not all on Tim Stützle, but Stützle on that first goal, was out of position. Didn't really help Clevin there down low when Manapalo, pinched in. And then on that second goal, obviously, the puck went right through him when he put his whole body down on the ice trying to block it. So it's not solely on Tim Stützle, but Stützle is a catalyst of the problem. A lot of standing around, a lot of out of position situations for the Ottawa Senators. And on that second goal, they were just standing around and the Rangers kind of did their thing. So, again, you need more. Again, you could say all you want about the goaltending, and we'll talk about it in the game notes. The Sens have the worst team save percentage in the league. Some of that's on the goaltending, obviously. No one can dispute that. But also, you know what? You got to play better out front of your goalies, especially when they're struggling. The Sens are not doing that, and the Senators are down 2-0 because of it. The Rangers are up by 2. The Senators have 2 posts. So in the first 10 minutes of the game, the Rangers score twice, and the Senators hit the post twice. That kind of tells you all you need to know about this game, really, to be honest. While the Senators had chances, they couldn't capitalize. And most importantly, their lapses, their mistakes were capitalized by the New York Rangers. And that's all it takes usually in a game to flip it for one team, and that's what happened tonight. Unfortunately, in the first 10 minutes. Again, when you're down 2-0 in the first 10 minutes of a game, it's so tough to get into a flow and to drive and get some momentum and build something for yourself. But these are the Cardiac Sens. Do not forget about that. And they always find a way to get some life and stay in it. And with less than 2 minutes to go in the first period of play, 90 seconds to be exact, Rich Cuzzy, brings the Sens to within one. It's a 2-1 game as he fires a shot perfectly, glove side past Shesterkin. What a heavy shot Dylan Cozens has. You see it on full display there as he wires it past Shesterkin. On the power play, a power play in which has been struggling as of late, they cut the lead to 1 after 20 minutes of play. A great feed along the boards by Drake Batherson as well. Cozens has his first goal and 6 on the goal. And Jake Sanderson with an assist on the secondary assist extends his point streak to 5 straight games. More on Jake Sanderson later on in the video. So after 20 minutes of play, the Rangers lead by a goal 2-1, but shots are 11-9 in favor of the Ottawa Senators, including 2 posts. So the Sens were definitely the better team if you take a look at the grand scheme of things there in the first period of play. But that doesn't matter because they were down by a goal. So technically they weren't the better team, but they looked like the better team. And before we get to the second period of play and continue on with the game recap, I want to give a quick shout out to Dylan Puckniak and Kyle Williams Sports and Entertainment for sponsoring Sens Talk. Go to www.dpre.ca for the best real estate experience in Ottawa, Gatineau, right now. Of course, a bilingual real estate experience as well. So in English, French, Dylan Puckniak does it all. Give him a call. So let's get to the second period of play. And a bad hit in the first period does not look good for Shane Pinto, and he would just not return in this game. He would remain in the locker room starting out the second period and would not return, and would later be ruled out with a lower body injury. Look at your screen right now. He took a hit along the boards from Mika Zibanejad, and this would be a catastrophic loss for the Ottawa Senators if Shane Pinto is out long term. One of the leading goal scorers, point drivers, face-off winners. I mean, he's so important for this team. And the Senators have shown they can survive without their key players. With Tkachuk, for example, they were able to win without him in the lineup. But again, you don't want to have one guy in, one guy out. And for Shane Pinto, again, it's a lower body injury. It's not a shoulder thing. It's not a hand thing. That should be a good sign. I will check my phone right now to see if there is an update. So I have an update here from Travis Green. He mentions that we will know more tomorrow, hopefully not long, and that's a direct quote. So again, we'll know more tomorrow. Clearly they're doing more testing, which means it could be serious. It could not be serious as well. That's why you do testing. So I'm going to choose to not overreact, and hopefully we're going to get some good news tomorrow. But, alternatively, for a guy like Stephen Halliday, who's already getting an opportunity because of Lars Eller's injury, with Shane Pinto potentially out, this is an opportunity for a guy like Stephen Halliday to step up and make a name for himself in his first true NHL opportunity. I think he can do it. In short minutes, he's looked very good in the NHL, not out of place at all. And again, it's a big ask. Do not get me wrong. But again, I think he's up to the ask for sure. And hopefully he doesn't have to be. But if he does, I think he's capable. And that's a positive to take out of a bad situation. Again, hopefully, Shane Pinto is okay. But we'll see what happens between now and Saturday. So we continue on in the second period of play, and the Sens' defensive lapses just continue. Less than 10 minutes in to the second period of play, the Sens get caught in on a long shift, specifically Gilbert and Jensen, and it costs the Ottawa Senators as the New York Rangers extend their lead to 2 to make it a 3-1 game. Dennis Gilbert and Nick Jensen are beat once again. Lots of traffic out front. Levi Marilainen thought it was a high stick, but it clearly was not. It just beat him cleanly, and the New York Rangers strike again to make it a 3-1 game. That's a goal that Levi Marilainen should have for sure, and that's also a goal that Nick Jensen and Dennis Gilbert should help thwart if possible, because again, 2 big bodies out front, creating traffic. You got to move them out of the way. They can't be walking around like it's free real estate. And that would just be the catalyst on what was a dominant period by the New York Rangers. They absolutely dominated that second period of play, out shooting the Sens 13-6 as well in that second period of play, and it felt like even more. In the last few minutes, the Sens really did start to push. But again, I don't want to say it's too little too late. Still half a game to go. But again, when you have the first 10 minutes giving up 2 goals, you can't really find your footing there. And then you come out of the gates in the second period, all over the place. And then the Rangers strike again within 10 minutes. It's really tough to kind of find your game and get on a footing. So again, not an excuse. You have to play better right out of the gate, obviously, but that's a reason why the Sens didn't look great tonight. They didn't have the opportunity to get into a flow and to feel good about their game. So let's get to the third period of play, and the Rangers, when leading after 40, are undefeated this year, 8-0-0. The Senators are going to look to end that, though. 5 minutes in, Tim Stützle off a great pass by Brady Tkachuk, but he stopped, by Shesterkin, but what just happened? He fell on the breakaway. I don't know why Stützle, is pretty light on his feet at times. And this is why he has the narrative of a diver, so to speak. He's not a diver. He just falls a lot. I don't know if he needs to get his skates sharpened. I don't know if he has to work on his edge work. I don't know what it is, but he falls a lot. And on a semi-breakaway there, he probably could have got a better chance if he didn't fall. So, again, that's one of those moments where Stützle, who's an elite skater, you kind of scratch your head and you're like, what the hell just happened, But that would be the beginning of what was a turnaround moment for the Sens, where in that third period, they were the better team, driving the play, and we see that, unfortunately, a little later in the third period of play, but again, you take it when you can, and the Sens score here with about 7 minutes left in the third period of play as Brady Tkachuk takes a shot off Drake Batherson and in, so Drake Batherson gets a goal in back-to-back games. Ottawa scores their second goal on the power play, and suddenly it's a one-goal game. Tkachuk again with an assist. He's got an assist essentially in every single game this year. Batherson, like I just said, has a goal in back-to-back games. And Jake Sanderson with the second assist on the night. That is 8 points, 3 goals in his last 5 games. Absolutely ridiculous. And speaking of Tkachuk getting an assist, that puts him 5th all-time in Senators franchise history for points with 411. Congratulations to the captain, Brady Tkachuk, with a clutch goal there to bring the Sens to within 1. And suddenly Ottawa's knocking on the door and are right back in it. They are in business, but unfortunately they just can't find a way. Igor Shesterkin and that glove hand was the Senators' kryptonite all night. Between that, obviously just not getting shots off. There's a couple of missed opportunities right out front that somehow did not go in. And most importantly, just a few posts. I mean, specifically the posts. On a goaltender like Igor Shesterkin, you got to capitalize when you beat him, and they didn't multiple times, obviously. They were this close, but again, this close is not in the net, right? So, again, we could talk about all the moral victories we want, but I think we're far past that. We all expect the Sens to win and beat teams, especially like the New York Rangers, a team that are not bad, but, they're not the creme of the creme, right? So this is a team that Ottawa should be able to match up with at the very least, and, we should expect them to win. So, again, yes, they played a solid third period there, and they got their chances, but, when you don't capitalize on those chances, especially against a world-class goaltender like Igor Shesterkin, it doesn't matter. Because, again, you could be playing way better, but if you have an elite goalie you're facing off against, that's the difference maker, and it was tonight. Between that, of course, and the missed chances that they just could not capitalize on. So Ottawa now has 1 win in their last 4 games and 2 in their last 6, which is really, really tough. Again, when you take a look at all the points left on the board, so to speak, by the Ottawa Senators, and you take a look around the standings and how well other teams are playing, it really upsets you a little bit because, again, there's so many points that were left. And ultimately, at the end of the year, that could be the difference maker with how tight the standings are right now. And again, when you watch this game and you see the second half of this game where Ottawa finally got some momentum and got their legs, they just had some defensive lapses that cost them and some brutal luck, so to speak, in terms of missing their chances, hitting the post, and only capitalizing on 2. Again, the power play clicked, but the 5-on-5 goal scoring wasn't there. It just is another loss where you're like, damn, you at least should have at least gotten a point out of it, but they didn't. And, a lot of people were saying this before the game today, that when you're coming back from a long road trip, this type of game is expected in your first game back. I don't know why that is. So hopefully on Saturday, we completely just forget about this and respond, right? Now, a few game notes before we wrap up the video. So the Senators' D issues are on full display right now, especially without Tom Chabot and Artem Zub, 2 guys that eat up 20-plus minutes a night. These are 2 important top 4 defensemen. Zub, arguably one of the better defensive defensemen in the National Hockey League. Chabot, so underrated. I think he gets hated on way too much. I mean, the guy plays nearly 25 minutes on average a night, and he does so many important things for Ottawa on both ends. offensively and defensively. Jake Sanderson has picked it up for Chabot in his absence, don't get me wrong, but you want to have a 1-2 punch of Sanderson and Chabot, right? So without Chabot there, Sanderson's really being relied on to do everything, and he can't do everything, right? No one can do everything. So when you have guys like Gilbert and Jensen, and even at times Manampalo and Spence and Clevin, all these guys have struggled at some point the last 5-7 games. It really shows how important it is to have your top guys in the lineup, obviously. And more so, it really shows that sure, the Sens have solid depth at, the blue line. Again, we're down 2 guys and you still have a serviceable blue line. But it does show, again, how important Zub and Chabot are. They eat up those minutes, and they really do insulate the weaker parts of the blue line, where guys right now who maybe shouldn't be in the top 4 are playing top 4 minutes, when regularly they'd be playing top 6 or getting scratched altogether, right? So, again, the defensive issues are on full display. Obviously, when you lose, it's going to be even more of a spotlight. But again, you need Zub back really, really badly, especially with Chabot out for the next week and a half. So hopefully Zub is back on Saturday, because again, the defensive lapses we're seeing right now, and don't get me wrong, the goaltending needs to be better, but again, the first 2 goals, I don't really know what you want from Merilainen. So again, you need to see more out front. We're not getting enough. Now, speaking of not getting enough, Giroux, Perron, really Greg, they need to step up. I'm sorry. You can even include Tim Stützle in there, but I don't really want to, because he's been so good as of late. Especially when the captain was out. But guys like Perron, Giroux, they have both got like 1 goal in the last 20 games, give or take. Giroux, 1 goal in the last 13. Really, Greg hasn't really done much this year. These are the guys that need to step up right here and right now, especially if Shane Pinto is out for any significant amount of time. So when the 5-on-5 is not producing like it has as of late, then the power play scoring, that's good. But when the 5-on-5 isn't producing, it's because of guys like Greg, Perron, Giroux, etc. that are not contributing. They need to step up, and they need to step up now, because again, the Senators, they just don't have enough goal scoring, obviously, and they're trying to address that, obviously, in a trade to get a pure shooter. But right now, we're going to need some of the shooters on this team to step up in the meantime. We know they can do it, and we need to see them do it. Stephen Halliday, as I already mentioned in this video, got called up from Belleville after Lars Eller was listed as day-to-day going into this game. Obviously, with Pinto's injury, he might be here even longer now. He played under 7 minutes tonight. You got to play him more. You got to give him more of an opportunity. He's an offensive center, all right? He can handle his own defensively, but he's an offensive center. If you want him to excel and to succeed and, more importantly, play his game to succeed, you got to play him more. You got to give him potentially power play minutes. You got to play him more than 5-6 minutes a night. And I really am interested to see what they do with Stephen Halliday moving forward, especially if Pinto is out for any period of time. Jake Sanderson in the last 5 games has 8 points tonight, has 2 assists, 3 blocks, nearly 28 minutes of ice time as well. Jake the Snake Sanderson, again, that's why you want that 1-2 punch of Sandy Chabot, because it's so nasty. But even without Chabot, look how Sanderson has stepped up and become the guy on the blue line, already more so than he was, right? I mean, again, he's literally trying to do everything and nearly doing everything, right? And when your forwards are not producing offense, you're going to need some offense from the blue line, and right now Jake Sanderson is doing that and then some. So Sanderson deserves a shutout purely because he's been so dominant offensively, but defensively as well. I mean, again, he's holding it down. Again, nearly 30 minutes tonight, all right? He did not have any defensive lapses, and ultimately having a guy like that is so fun to watch, obviously, but also really puts things into perspective. Imagine without Jake Sanderson what this team would look like. I don't want to imagine it, and thankfully we don't have to. Now, like I already alluded to, Levi Merilainen tonight was not great, was not bad. He was so-so. The first 2 goals were not his fault in that first period of play. The defense left him screened on goal number 2, and a 2-on-1 on goal number 1 is not easy to stop. The third goal was on him, though. He should have stopped that one regardless if there was traffic up front. The Senators are last in league save percentage, though, as a team, with an .879 combined save percentage. That's obviously not good enough. Levi Merilainen tonight stopped 24 for 27 for an .889 save percentage. So, yes, the guys up front have to be better, but the goaltending has to be better too, no doubt about that. You're not going to make the playoffs. You're not going to do anything in the playoffs if you have goaltending like that. So the goaltending truly needs to figure it out, regardless of the guys up front. Because, again, you know what? I know save percentage isn't everything, but if you look at goals saved above expected too, I mean, both our goalies are in the negatives. And, again, our goalies have looked much better in the last month. Do not get it twisted. but they need to be better. And tonight, again, I'm not going to pin on Levi Merilainen, but it just shows on a night where the Sens are not really playing a full 60. It's inconsistent. The defense is having some lapses. They're not really able to find their game. The goaltending has to step up and allow them to find their game, and tonight it just didn't. So with that, let's see what Ottawa can do on Saturday against the St. Louis Blues once again as they look to get back into the win column on Saturday night at 7 o'clock. So with that, thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below as always, and I'll see you all soon. Go Sens, go.